Hello, hello. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to day two. Let's wait a couple of minutes for everyone. I hope everybody got the memo that today's class is rescheduled. In all cases, it's recorded. Hi. iPhone, who are you, iPhone? Because all I see is iPhone. What's your name? Sharifa. Okay. Is that no? That's not Sharifa. iPhone, who just said hi. Who is it? Perry. Hi, Perry. I think I have two Perrys in this program. I believe I have two Perrys. Which one are you? Just so I know who I'm talking to. Perry Hussam, right? And there's also Perry Ghunim. All right. How are the thoughts? How's the overwhelm? How are the thoughts of quitting coming along? How are the scary thoughts? A little bit better? Or at least you understand them a little bit more. You can see where they're coming from. You can see why your poor little critter brain is freaking out right now. So it's normal. It's normal. You're asking your brain to wrap itself around a lot, right? You're asking it to go against anything mainstream you've ever heard when it comes to health conditions, anything mainstream you've heard and done your entire life when it comes to how to eat, uh, anything mainstream, generational patterns of being and living within your family, within your extended family, within your friends. Like it's really, really, we're asking that part of your brain, we're asking you to question and change a lot. So the overwhelm and the freaking out and the fear of change is 100% normal. And if you're still, today's only day two, so it's still normal to be feeling it, but at least after yesterday's class, you understand where it's coming from and you can accept that this is a normal part of the change. Feeling overwhelmed at first is normal. What we're going to do is work through the overwhelm so that you can see the changes that you want. If you stay in the overwhelm and you let the overwhelm control you and say, oh, what, this is just too much, and I'm just going to stay in this feeling and not work through it, that's not how you're going to see change. Um, and in today's email, if you read today's email, I asked you a very powerful question that can help you get through the overwhelm, which is your big why for doing this. The big why. I know as I read through your introductions, I know that so many of you have actual you all do physical symptoms, medical conditions, and your goal is to be free of that. You don't want to be living in pain anymore. You don't want to be living in discomfort anymore. But the second question, the second part of that is why? So why do you want to be off your thyroid medications? Why do you want to be rid of arthritis pain? Why do you want to sleep better? Why do you want to have better energy? More energy. So, what is the point of you overhauling your entire life and the way that you eat so that you can be symptom free? That's only part of your answer. What is going to happen when you wake up with energy, when you don't have aches and pains anymore, when your period is regular and symptom free, when you're off your thyroid medications, when you're confident because you suddenly your skin looks bright and light and you feel happy? What is that going to do for you? I need you to think about this question. That's why I put it in today's email. I'll give you myself as an example. Obviously, when I first journey, many of you um might still be there, and this is not a wrong goal to have, but we just want to go deeper. It was always for me about weight loss. Always. And because we've always equated, or the only thing that we thought we had in our control when it comes to our health is our weight. The only thing that you can do to change something physical about you is your weight. We didn't know, at least, 20 years ago when I was in my 20s, 25 years ago, we didn't know that we could reverse chronic conditions. We didn't know that we could reverse chronic disease we just didn't know. And I definitely didn't grow up with that mindset. My father was a doctor. So I definitely grew up with If you have a cold, you take medication. If you have tonsillitis, you take antibiotic. If you have a headache, you take a Panadol. Whatever is wrong with you, there's a pill for it. So we never grew up with that. The only thing we knew to do was like if you're overweight, you go on a diet and you lose weight and then you gain it all back again. And then you go and find the next best diet. You follow that, you lose weight, you gain it all back again. And we've all, most of us have gone through that cycle of yo-yo dieting. Never in the world did we ever think, because we'd never seen it, that you could reverse a disease or that you could actually grow older disease free, or that you could actually grow older without aging. So as I've gone through this process, I went from always just wanting to lose weight. I also had a huge skin issue. I had horrible acne. Couldn't believe that I cured it simply by changing how I was eating. I'll talk about that in the skin class. But right now, I'm 51. I'm about to be a grandmother. I'm going to be a grandmother in 2 months. And I realize more and more that my big why is I don't want to be a burden on my kids. I don't want to be a burden on my family as I get older. Unfortunately, we've seen our parents in that generation because they didn't know, right? They didn't know. They didn't have the information. We've seen them get older with illness. We've seen them get older and need help. We've seen them get older and become dependent. So what you get to do, because you're going to learn otherwise, is that that doesn't have to happen to you. You do not have to get older with disease. You do not have to get older and become dependent. You can live the way you are now in my 50s, God willing, obviously everything is up to God, in your 70s and in your 80s. What we see, what's called aging and the breakdown of the body is nothing more than an erosion, an internal erosion that happens due to toxicity and deficiency. And toxicity and deficiency comes from what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're breathing, what you're putting on your skin, the way you manage your emotions. So all of them are factors that are 100% in your control. Your body doesn't just erode fast. There's got to be some kind of erosion. We have to die of something at the end, right? But in terms of the erosion that keeps you, that makes you incapacitated as you get older, that's within your control. So more and more, I reinforce that for myself that I don't want to be a burden on my kids and on my family. And now that I'm going to be a grandmother, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to be a grandmother, where my grandkids come home and I'm just sitting on a couch and I can't do anything with them. I want to be an active grandmother. I want to help my daughter. I want to be there. That requires you to be healthy. It requires you to be symptom free. At the most basic level, it requires you to have energy. So what we're going to start talking about today is where and how does this erosion start that not only leads to you being, incapacitated as you get older, but also leads to chronic conditions and disease. When we talk about healing, when we talk about the state of the body, it's down to two things and two things only: toxicity and deficiency. Whatever symptom you've got right now, whatever condition you've got right now, from the mildest symptom, which is maybe just a little bit of fatigue, maybe you have a headache every now and then, to all the conditions you all are sharing with me on the group: fibromyalgia, thyroid issues, fibroids, irregular periods, insomnia, constant fatigue, irritability, depression, endometriosis, all the way up to cancer. Every single one of those has one root cause and one root cause only, which is toxicity and deficiency in your cells. Conventional medicine will have you believe that each one of those is a separate condition and each one needs a separate way to, to attack it, to deal with it. And usually it's either a pill or surgery, usually. In alternative and holistic health, we see the body as one interconnected system. It's one organism. Your thyroid doesn't work independent of your liver, and your liver doesn't work independently of your kidneys. Your reproductive system is not independent of the rest of your body. Everything is connected, and when we see one system malfunction or start to break down, we typically see other systems do the same. Not because the body's suddenly working against you, not because suddenly the body's all breaking down, but because it is connected and because each system functions at their core in the same exact way. Your entire body is made up of 100 trillion cells. And when we talk about toxicity and deficiency, when we talk about healing, what we're actually going for are those cells. The 100 trillion cells in your body. You have 100 trillion cells. A few million of them make up your eyes, a few million of them make up your skin, another few million make up your lungs, your heart, and so on. Each one of those cells functions in exactly the same way, and each one of those cells needs fuel in exactly the same way. If the cells of a certain organ are not being fueled properly, and more important, they can't eliminate waste. So all of your cells need to eat, and they need to breathe, and they need to eliminate waste. So you're feeding them all the time without knowing it. If they are being fed toxicity on a regular basis, they get clogged. They can't breathe properly and they can't eliminate properly. And when they do eliminate, they eliminate toxicity. And then deficiencies when they're not being given enough of what they need as nutrients. So what we're talking about today and tomorrow separately are toxicity and deficiency. Today we're going to cover the toxicity in the form of foods that you're eating. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the deficiency in terms of food again that your cells are missing. So this is the class that I think people like the least because we're going to go through that list of foods to remove. These are the foods that when you are eating them over and over and over again for days on end, weeks on end, years on end, create the incredible amount of toxicity in your cells. And then those cells malfunction. And then for one of you, it might show up as a malfunction in her uterus. Another one of you, the malfunction can show up as fibromyalgia. But the solution is the same because the cells that are working in your uterus are the same type of cells that are working in the nervous system that's causing you fibromyalgia. We attack them and we work at them and we heal them in the same way. You have to remove the toxicity and replenish the deficiency. That's all healing is. It's actually quite easy. It might not be simple because it requires you to change a lot, but the actual process is easy. Remove toxins, replenish deficiencies. That's it. Once you do that, your cells know what to do. They know how to jumpstart themselves. They know how to heal from within. They know what to do, but they just need you to help them get to that point where they know how to heal. Right now, they're overloaded. And the proof that all of your cells are overloaded are all of your symptoms and your conditions. So let's look at the list of the sources of toxicity from food. You have this list in your detox guide. I'm going to go through it and explain because some of these things on this list, you might not like it if I tell you, right, that junk food is bad for you. Ultra processed foods are bad for you. You might not like it because these foods are very, very tasty. The food manufacturers say that they're very tasty, very addictive. But there's a part of you that's going to agree with me, whether you like it or not, right? When I say pizza, burgers, any kind of fast food, when I say ultra processed food, when I say the cakes and the junk and the chips and the sodas and the protein drinks, right? You will agree with me on some level, even if not outwardly right now. But when I come and tell you something like milk or bread or eggs, right? Or to an extent, beef or chicken, this is where it gets a little bit more difficult to convince you because these are foods that are technically from nature. Animals, are on farms. These are foods that haven't just been introduced with introduction of ultra processed foods in the last 50 to 60 years. They've been around for thousands of years. So I'm going to go through each one of these so that you can understand further why and to what extent they may be problematic and why they're creating and adding to toxicity in your body. So I'm going to just start with the list as it is in your detox guide. The first one on there is caffeine. And of course, we all love our coffee. I love my coffee. I'm not going to pretend that I don't love my coffee. I still do have my coffee on and off. I do take regular breaks from it, but we love it. And the reason we love it is because it's addictive. It's caffeine. It's created to be addictive. But caffeine also, especially for women, affects your hormones. And the first hormone that caffeine goes right after is your cortisol. We have a special class next week just on hormones where I'll break that down for you. But all you need to know right now is that it goes after cortisol. Every time you drink any caffeinated drink, it pushes cortisol in the body because it is a highly toxic ingredient. And the body doesn't push against any ingredient or food unless it knows that it's dangerous for it. So when it pushes cortisol, you end up with elevated levels of cortisol. You end up with higher stress levels. And that can lead to constant fatigue, anxiety, irritability. I mean, see how you feel without your coffee? And that's what's actually, the coffee is actually creating those symptoms. Every time you drink it, you suppress those symptoms for a little bit, and then they come back. And then you have sugar, right? Processed sugars. You have brown sugar, white sugar, corn syrup, agave. All of these are processed sugars, which are highly toxic to the body. Now, the issue is that people have confused because of the messaging. People are confusing white sugar or any sugar with the sugar from fruits. And this is one of the biggest myths and misconceptions we have to let go of. The stuff you put in your coffee or you put in your desserts is the furthest thing away from the natural sugar in fruits. We don't get sick from the natural sugar in fruits. The natural sugar in fruits is the sugar that our body uses as fuel. White sugar, brown sugar, all the artificial sweeteners are toxins that create disease in the body. So those have to go. And then, of course, alcohol. Even though doctors will tell you, oh, a little bit of red wine can be good for you. You can have 2 glasses of alcohol a week. Obviously, put all religious, beliefs aside here. But alcohol is a poison. It's alcohol. Would you give alcohol to a child? Would you even give caffeine to a child, right? It is a poison, and yet we see it marketed, we see it advertised, we see it glamorized, that it's this, fun thing to drink. It makes you feel happy, it makes you feel good, sort of like caffeine as well. But it is a drug. If we look at, actual drugs like cocaine, heroin, all of those, alcohol is right under there below it as a drug. It's a legal one, but it is a drug. It's a poison. Then obviously we have things like soft drinks, right? We have chips. We have anything that comes in a box, really to simplify this for you, anything that comes in a box and sits on a supermarket shelf for months on end before you even buy it to eat. These are what we call ultra processed foods that the body simply can't recognize. And there's zero nutrition in these foods for your cells. Your body, you can eat a whole box of processed cakes or pasta, right? Pasta is processed, and your cells will not be fed. Your cells are looking for live nutrients. They're looking for live vitamins, live minerals, live enzymes, live hydration, and it doesn't come from highly ultra processed foods. So those are the ones that everybody can agree on. Sort of in the middle area are seed oils. So seed oils like corn oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, sesame oil, rice, any of the oils that actually come from grains. They tell you they're vegetable oils, but these are grains. Corn is a grain. Canola is a grain. Sesame is a grain. And these oils have been heavily, heavily marketed, at least for the past 50 years, as heart healthy and good for you and lowering cholesterol and preventing heart disease. And only finally in the last couple of years, well, in the holistic world, we've been saying it for many, many, many years, many, many years. But mainstream is only coming to recognize this recently because these are completely highly processed, unnatural oils that oxidize in the body. And just recently, they're starting to say, oh, well, you know what? We're seeing a rise in colon cancer in much younger ages. It seems like seed oils could be the problem. And seed oils are not just the oils you use at home to fry chicken penne or cook. Anything you're eating outside of the home, in any restaurant, from the lowest junk food place to the highest Michelin star place, they're all using seed oils. Anytime you're eating outside of your house, even if you order a grilled steak with some vegetables, you're going to find seed oils. So they're in everything. And these are highly, highly toxic. And yet you see the commercial on TV, everybody's using them. They're in just about everybody's household. These have to go. Then we come to the category of foods that are natural, right? So eggs, milk, cheese, beef, chicken. Now, ultra-processed foods, seed oils, junk food, all of these have been introduced into our food chain, I want to say within the last 60 years. The other foods have been in our food chain for thousands of years. So these fake foods, I'm going to call them, that have only been with us for about 60 years, are truly problematic because they are processed, they're made in factories. Ever since their introduction, the rate of disease has skyrocketed. These other foods did not start off being problematic. So if you think of the human being, right? We're 200,000 years old, maybe 100,000, 200,000 years old. We evolved eating animal protein, fruits, vegetables, and maybe even eggs were introduced sort of around the farming time, as well as dairy. But the thing is, 100,000 years ago, when ancient man was roaming the world and hunting his animals to eat, he was hunting truly wild animals who were only eating grass and whatever was available to them naturally in their environment. He wasn't eating farmed animals, which is what we're all eating today. Right now, we're all eating beef or chicken or whichever source of protein we're eating that is farmed in these horrible, horrible farms where these animals are not being fed what they would naturally eat in their natural habitat. And whatever that animal is eating, you end up consuming because it ends up in their bloodstream, it ends up in their muscles, it ends up in the milk. All of that ends up in you. So that's the main, we're looking at eggs and we're looking at dairy and we're looking at animal products. It's the way that these animals are being raised. With eggs, everyone's say, but eggs are really good for you. Eggs are a great source of protein. But think of what an egg is. As females, we all have eggs too, right? What does an egg do in a female? And what's it full of? It's full of hormones. Any egg from any female animal is full of hormones. It's full of all of the hormones and the information that's going to go on to create another being of whatever that animal is, another human, another chicken, whatever it is. Full of hormones, naturally full of hormones. And then take that animal being grown in a farm, take this chicken, and what's the chicken being given in this farm? So that she can be plumped up quickly, so that they can produce a lot of eggs. She's given more hormones that end up in her egg and in her meat that you eat. Take the cow. Cows are supposed to be roaming in nature and chickens, and they're only supposed to eat grass. That's it. That's it. A cow, that big cow, is only meant to eat grass. But they take the cows, they put them in the industrial farms, and they give them more hormones so they keep producing milk. They give them antibiotics so they don't get sick and infect each other. And they don't feed them just grass. They feed them the remains of other animals. They feed them garbage. They feed them grains. They feed them soy. And that's just a short list. And then they take the cow and they pump her milk. And so you end up with the cow's own hormones, plus all the hormones she's been given to make sure that she keeps lactating, plus all the antibiotics that she's been given so she doesn't get sick, plus all the fake food that she's been eating, plus all the garbage and the remains of other animals that she's been eating as well. And because they've been pumping her full of hormones, her udders are distended. I mean, imagine as a woman, those of you who have had babies and breastfed, imagine if you've ever had breasts that were too full of milk and how uncomfortable that was. And imagine if you've ever reached a point with having so much milk where you either released pus or released blood or had any kind of an infection. That's what happens to all the cows. So they release blood and they release pus into the milk, which ends up, even when the milk is pasteurized, there is actually a small percentage that is allowed legally of pus and blood allowed to be in the milk that you drink. So imagine if you're a woman here who's having hormonal issues and your own hormones have reached a tipping point where you're feeling tired, exhausted, irregular periods, night sweats, headaches, tender breasts, any specific hormonal issue, high cortisol, thyroid, that's also a hormone. And then you're ingesting on a regular basis milk, cheese, yogurt, meat, eggs, all of these sources of, I'm going to call them contaminated animal protein sources, you're adding to your own hormonal load, which is your body's already having a hard time managing your own hormones. So this is why these foods have become problematic. They're not problematic in and of themselves. It's because of the way that the animals are grown, and it's because of the way they interact with our own bodies, and our own bodies have been compromised because we're also eating away from nature. We're eating processed foods, we're living on caffeine, we're not eating enough fruits and vegetables. So our terrain is already compromised, and you add on to it something that's supposedly natural, but our terrain just can't process it the way that it's used to or the way that it should. So this is why what we do in this program is just remove everything. You need to clear everything, literally restart from zero and clear any of the potential problems, because all of these foods, what happens also then is you bring in pathogens and you bring in different types of bacteria. And you're supposed to have a certain amount of healthy bacteria in your gut. But what happens when you're feeding your gut caffeine, alcohol, junk, ultra-processed foods, sodas, animal protein that's filled with antibiotics and other hormones, you disrupt the natural balance of good and bad bacteria in your gut. And the more you keep giving your gut these foods, the more the bad bacteria increases. And the more your cells become full of toxicity because they're not getting the proper nutrition. So we have to eliminate all of this and just stick with the basics. And tomorrow we talk about that. You stick with the basics until you are symptom free, and then you bring in just the natural stuff. So at no point, because some of you are asking me, well, then after the 3 months, do I get to go back to eating normally? Do you think the way that you've been eating up until today, now that you've heard me explain it, is really normal? Eating ultra-processed foods, living on caffeine, eating mostly dead, dry, and dumb foods. Does that sound normal? And why would you want to go back to the way that you were eating that led you to where you are today with all of your symptoms and conditions? So once we clear the body and we get to a clean slate and you start to see your symptoms reverse, we're going to only reintroduce very gradually the natural foods, like a little bit of animal protein. You're not going to bring in ultra-processed foods on a regular basis. You're not going to bring in caffeine on a regular basis. You're not going to bring in alcohol on a regular basis. You're not going to bring junk and chips and sodas back in. It will just proliferate again and recreate the conditions in your body again. So the biggest takeaway from today's class is healing requires two things: removing the toxicity and replenishing the deficiency. And that list of foods I've given you, all of them, some of them at the highest degree, some of them milder, are all sources of toxicity right now to your body and to your cells, most importantly. And we talked about yesterday briefly, we touched on we want your body to be more alkaline than acidic. So all of these foods also, if we look at the spectrum of acidic to alkaline, all of these foods fall on the acidic side. All of them. So these are all the foods that when you eat continuously, over and over and over again, raise the acidic level in your body, in your bloodstream, and in your lymphatic system and in the organs. So they don't raise the acidity in your stomach, so we're super clear. Your stomach is supposed to be acidic because it has all the different enzymes to break down food. So when we say we need to be alkaline, we're talking about everything else. So all of these foods on that list create toxicity, which leads to acidity, which leads to the cells to malfunction, which leads to whatever symptom you've currently got. All right, let me see the questions, ladies. Just wanted to ask about when we can reintroduce coffee and tea. So here's the thing with coffee and tea, right? Like I said, I love my coffee, but it's taken me a while to figure out sort of the ratio and the amount and the frequency of coffee that I can drink that doesn't re-trigger my symptoms. So over the years, I've discovered that if I have literally a fourth of a cup of coffee after my morning routine, I can get away with that. I don't have any symptoms. I start drinking a full cup. Sometimes when I'm on vacation, I might take 2 cups. It takes 1 week to 10 days for me to see a night sweat come back, bloating come back, hair loss come back. So it's going to be a little different for all of you. And then you might even realize, right now, maybe you can't imagine it, but once it's out of your system, you might surprise yourself that you don't even want it anymore at all, or that it's not even going to taste the same when you reintroduce it. Sharifa, what about coconut oil? No, coconut oil is great. So when we add oils to cooking after the deep detox, it will be olive oil, coconut oil, even a little bit of semna is better than any of the seed oils. Ghada, what about probiotics? Sorry, no probiotics. They're under the supplements. So probiotics are you're giving your gut the good bacteria that it might be missing, but the reason you might be missing it, right, is because you're eating all these foods to start with. So if you're regularly drinking coffee and eating bread and eating cheese and eating yogurt and eating more animal protein and more fat than fruits and vegetables, this is what's going to cause the imbalance that's going to lead you to think you need probiotics. So instead of giving it the fake solution, we're going to get to the root cause and balance it to where you might not need probiotics anyway. The egg is produced in my farm under my supervision, no outside hormones. So amazing. So even if you, this is what I said, even if you bring your own chicken and you just feed her what a chicken is supposed to eat, and even if you bring your own baby cow and you grow this cow in your balcony or your garden, and you only feed it grass and you give it nothing else, that egg from that chicken is still going to have the hormones of the chicken, her own hormones. The milk from that cow is still going to have the hormones of that cow. And think of how big a cow is. Think of the amount of estrogen that she has in order to produce milk, in order to have a baby. All of it ends up in your milk anyway. So when you, like I said, you've reached a tipping point with your own hormones, you can't afford to take in the hormones of any other animal in any shape or form. The other thing with eggs is they did these tests about 50 years ago. I forget why they did the test. They were trying to see, I think, which kinds of foods can feed viruses and sort of when you eat it, does it multiply viruses versus not? And so they took, sort of petri dishes with different types of viruses, and then they'd put like, I don't know, fruit in each petri dish and a different type of food in each petri dish and to see would the virus proliferate or would it die? And when they gave the petri dishes, when they gave the specific viruses and bacteria, eggs, everything doubled in size. So they discovered that eggs may feed viruses and pathogens. So if you have got any kind of condition, we know that there is some type of pathogen, some kind of bacteria in your body. So you may be, without knowing it, eating eggs, thinking these are a great source of protein, these are super healthy, and inadvertently feeding the pathogens in your body that are making your symptoms worse. Hind, what about eggs and dairy from the resources you mentioned if they're well raised? Same thing. Nuts. So nuts go under the category of grains, and grains have another whole issue with them, which is grains all contain something called phytic acid. So legumes, fool, chickpeas, all the nuts, they contain something phytic acid. Phytic acid, we call it the anti-nutrient because when you eat it, it goes into your body and potentially gets in the way of your body absorbing nutrients from other foods. And this is why when you eat nuts, we always recommend that they're raw and soaked, because by soaking them, and the same thing with chickpeas and lentils and all legumes, when you soak them, it releases the phytic acid. If you've ever paid attention, you need to soak at least overnight. If you've ever noticed sort of the foam that comes out on the surface of the water when you soak these, that is the phytic acid. So even before we consume them, we have to eliminate the phytic acid. It gets in the way of your body. So let's say you're eating all this incredibly healing, healthy foods, but then every day you're having hummus, or every day you're eating lots and lots of nuts. You might be interfering with the way your body's absorbing all the live vitamins and minerals from all the other foods. So, not a lot of nuts, and when you have them, raw and soaked. Neriman, are there any tests to do to know the level acidity of the body? There is the pH strips that you can pee on, and that's the easiest way. I don't know where you can get those in Cairo. You might be able to get them in a pharmacy. But this is the easiest way. You pee on a little strip, pH strip, and it tells you, and I can tell you the exact numbers of what it should be if it's alkaline or acidic. I don't know them off the top of my head, but that's the quickest way. But even without doing that, if you have any of the symptoms I keep talking about, if you have any kind of current imbalance or diagnosed condition in your body, that's all you need to know. You wouldn't have any of these symptoms if you don't have a higher level of acidity in your body. Diseases and chronic conditions and toxicity and deficiency and erosion of the organs, they don't take hold except in a body that's acidic. It doesn't happen in a body that's alkaline. Rihem, I read that olive oil is carcinogenic when heated, hence cannot be used for cooking. No, that's not true. I've been using olive oil in all my cooking for the past 15 years. It absolutely is not. Olive oil and coconut oil are the two oils that you can use for cooking comfortably, does not turn carcinogenic. All the seed oils, however, every single one of them is carcinogenic and oxidizes in the blood and leads to disease. Irene, what about decaf coffee? When you go and have coffee, we're going to eliminate all coffee, but let's say you decide to go back and try coffee, have regular coffee, because decaf coffee, the process of decaffeination creates another level of toxicity in the coffee bean. So stay away from decaf. When you want coffee, have it regular. Amira, I stopped caffeine today and I'm having a really bad headache. If I had to give in, should I take some painkiller or just drink some coffee or tea? Neither. In today's email, I asked you to order coconut oil, lavender essential oil, and peppermint essential oil. You can actually get those if you're in Cairo from Arij Aromatherapy. I think they even have them on InstaShop, or you can order straight from them. As you're going through this process, some of you will start, reducing caffeine now. Some of you are going to start doing it cold turkey on Thursday. You will go through some of these detox symptoms, specifically with caffeine, the headaches. It's expected that you're going to have headaches when you withdraw from caffeine. If you take an over-the-counter painkiller, you are adding to the body's toxic load because all of these medications are toxins. So the easiest way and the most effective way and the most natural way that will not add to your body's toxic load is to make the mix of essential oils. Amira, if you can tag me in the group, I will put the post of how to make that mix. It's super simple. And you can use it as often and as much as you need for relief until you get over this phase. What about vegan cheese? Only if the vegan cheese is made from nuts. So not the commercial vegan cheese you see in supermarkets. None of that. That's all filled with soy, filled with chemical additives, chemical fillers. So none of the commercial ones. There is a company called Caju, I believe, and if you tag me, I can give you the link for that. She makes vegan cheeses purely from natural ingredients, which they're not based. So she makes them from cashews, I think, maybe from almond, mixed with some other things, but none of the ones in supermarkets. Chicken beledi, I'm guessing you're thinking chicken beledi. So in the first 3 days of the program, I'll talk about that once I get through your questions, where you do have animal protein. Yes, beledi chicken is great. As much as you can find hormone-free animal protein, yes, in those first 3 days. Yasmin, do beef, chicken, and poultry have the same bad effect on our bodies? So this is going to be very interesting. So when you stop eating animal protein and then you reintroduce it, you're going to be surprised how some of you are going to not be able to eat certain animal protein again. It's going to trigger discomfort, while others, you'll be able to eat it and you'll be perfectly fine. I can't predict this for any of you. You might be perfectly fine with beef, chicken, and poultry, Yasmin, or you might not. Every body is going to be individual when it comes to this. And you might shift and change. So I technically, since I went through this whole process myself, every time I would eat beef or steak, which I really, really love, I would wake up with a night sweat, like clockwork. I have steak that night, I wake up drenched in sweat, which is a sign that steak was too heavy for me. My body's not able to process it. Wasn't working. So I would move away from it and stick with fish because fish didn't do that. I could have fish every single day and not a single night sweat, nothing would work. And chicken was sort of, I could never pinpoint what it was. Some nights it would wake me up with a night sweat, some nights it wouldn't. And that was, when I started this process like 6 years ago and still working out what works and what doesn't. Today, I can eat a steak and nothing will happen. So the body does also build up resilience. The more you keep healing the body, and sometimes that's just all you need is time to heal the imbalances. You can then go and eat something that used to trigger you or used to give you a night sweat, and then it doesn't anymore. I've also completely unable to eat chicken these days. So I've basically now I eat beef and I eat fish. That's it. And I've had women in the past who are like, I can't eat chicken anymore. It just completely bothers me or gives me a night sweat or gives me constipation. So there's no way for you to know what will work and what won't in terms of under the umbrella of the natural foods until you go through the process and slowly reintroduce each one. Maria, that means if we have girls, we shouldn't give them eggs. Theoretically, right? I stopped giving my kids eggs a long time ago. No eggs. Eggs also, if you have any skin issues. So if you have acne or any of your kids have acne, eggs feed acne. So that's another reason to take eggs out. Yasmin, do you mean that milk contains pus cells? Yes, it does. You don't see them, they're microscopic, but yes. Sara, after we finalize the detox, what are the sources of protein that we can have? You can have beef or chicken or fish if you want to, right? So as you go through this process, also, you might discover you don't want them anymore. When you introduce them, you might discover that one works better than the other, but that would be your source of protein. Also, all the main vegetables that we are consuming on this program, so broccoli, Brussels sprouts, spinach, potatoes, mushrooms, these are all full of protein. Protein is not just only limited to animals. You can get a whole range of protein from many, many, many sources of vegetables. Hint, how to know if tahini is processed, their color and consistency. You would know. Usually look at the list of ingredients. It's pretty transparent. So if they've added, tahina is just supposed to be tahina. If you've ever made it at home, you just take the sesame seeds and you put them in your food processor. If you've ever made peanut butter or almond butter at home, it's exactly the same thing. You don't add anything. You just put the sesame seeds in your food processor and just let it go for about 15 minutes, and that's how you have tahina. The commercial ones, they might actually have in the list of ingredients on the back that there's a stabilizer, that there's a thickening agent, then you know that it's processed. I know that you can, I think Carrefour, I believe, will make fresh tahina for you. They have a machine where they just put the sesame seeds in and you get fresh, completely natural tahina. Sharifa, what about salt? Should we use any kind of salt? You want to use sea salt or Himalayan salt? Salt is an important mineral. It's a mineral our body needs. We don't get sick from salt. This is another myth. You don't get high blood pressure from salt. So the problem is the kind of salt. So all the table salt that we all been using, again, is the processed version of salt. So you want to go back to the natural version of salt and use it as you need it. You like a little bit more, you like a little bit less. Salt is great. Hind, how to cook cauliflower rice. So cauliflower rice is basically you take your cauliflower and you put it in your food processor, but you pulse it just like gradually so that it turns into little grains. And then you take that and you add it to your pot, the little bit of olive oil. You can add other vegetables to it, like finely chopped herbs like parsley, dill, coriander. You can add carrots. There's a recipe in your guide. Anything that gives it flavor that you want, any cumin, salt, pepper, anything that you want, and you cook it until it softens, and then you eat it. Lemon balm, same as lemongrass. No, lemon balm is an herb that is, it's a medicinal herb that helps to calm the nerves in your digestive system. So when there's any kind of digestive upset, or if you have any kind of issues like bloating or gas, or if you're just naturally anxious or irritable, that means there's nerves in your digestive system that are either exposed or sort of bare. And lemon balm, as the name suggests, goes in and coats the nerves of the digestive system, calming the digestive system, which is going to calm down bloating, will calm gas, will calm any kind of digestive issues, also will help you to feel more calm. Also, do I have to eat all the meals? Yes, do not skip. Okay, this is not a diet. It's not about eating less. And especially when we're talking about healing, it isn't even enough to just eat clean. When we talk about healing, we're talking about, flooding the body with nutrients, flooding the body with the deficiencies that it's been missing. So if you decide to eat less, it's like you're taking away from the dose, the healing dose and the healing power of the foods. So you might feel like you would want to eat a little bit less, but don't ever skip. Don't ever skip. Maria, is organic chicken the same as free hormones chicken? I always get confused. And this changes and differs from one country to another. The standard, right, of what organic is versus what hormone free is. So in some countries, organic could mean that they're just fed organic food, not necessarily hormone free. In other countries, it could mean that they're fed organic feeds and they're also not given anything. There actually is no way for you to know, especially in Egypt, where the standards here are quite loose, especially when it comes to these kinds of, the hormone-free, organic, et cetera, et cetera. So go for whatever you can find. I would at least go for, if I was to prioritize and we're not sure what each one means, I would go for hormone-free more than anything. Yasmin, when we could take tahina during the program. So you can take it in the first 3 days, and then any time that you are going to be doing clean eating, but not during the deep detox. Is the Melissa herbal bags of Al Attar good? Yes, those are the lemon balm. It's also called Melissa, and yes, you can find them the Attar brand. Those are very good. Jaylen, is this eating plan only for the program duration? This is a lifestyle, like I said. This is a lifestyle because these are the healing foods that heal you, and then in order to stay healed, you need to stay eating them. If you go back to eating whatever it is you're eating now, whether that's bread, cheese, yogurt, dairy, too much animal protein, too much animal fat, junk food, sodas, artificial sweeteners, you name it, anything on those lists, you will retox the body, rebuild the toxicity in your cells, and redevelop the symptoms and the condition again. Sara, is it okay to shift the timings a little if I don't usually wake up very early? Yes. Like I said yesterday, the most important part, let's say you don't necessarily wake up that early, the most important thing is to make sure your last meal is 3 to 4 hours before your bedtime. Ideally 3 to 4 hours before 10 p.m. But if you have a later bedtime, let's say some of you, I've had women who work late, come home late, they can't eat until 8 o'clock, for example, and then they don't sleep until 11 or 12. At least do that. At least keep a window of 3 or 4 hours before you sleep. Last meal, 3 or 4 hours. All right, so tomorrow we'll talk about deficiency. Today we talked about the sources of toxicity from food and the foods to remove to start to heal, but it doesn't work just to remove toxic foods. You're not going to heal just by removing the toxicity. Like I said, we have to flood the body with what it's deficient in, and that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. In these few days, you're getting ready. So starting Thursday, we're going to ease the body into the detox process. We're not going to wake up on Thursday and go into a deep detox so it doesn't shock your body too much. So for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you still get to keep a little bit of animal protein, a little bit of nuts, a little bit of the good fats. And then starting Sunday, we remove everything, and the only things that you will be eating will be fruits and vegetables. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is where you have more flexibility. So breakfast, starting Thursday and indefinitely for the next couple of months, your breakfast will be the lemon water, the celery, and your berry smoothie. So that doesn't change from Thursday onwards. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you get to choose your lunch and your dinner from the clean eating guide. So I'm not going to tell you what to eat for lunch and dinner on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And the options there include salads, soups, cooked vegetables, and you can add a portion of animal protein, whatever animal protein you like, so beef, chicken, or fish, either at lunch and dinner or just one of those. And you do that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You can also have any of the desserts or any of the snacks in that clean eating guide as well. Starting Sunday, you go to your eating schedule and you only eat the lunch and dinner recipes that are in the eating schedule, which is basically salads and cooked vegetables. That's it. And they shift a little bit throughout the week, and you'll see, but from Sunday to the following Friday, it's just fruits and vegetables, no animal protein whatsoever, no nuts, no grains, no good fats like avocado. You can have a little bit of olive oil when you cook your food, but nothing but fruits and vegetables. No alternative dairies, no almond milk, no coconut milk, no oat milk. Starting Sunday. You can have those a little bit in the first 3 days, but not starting Sunday. Yasmin, can we take cucumber instead of celery juice? So cucumber can be a substitute for celery if and only if you can't find celery juice. Because in Egypt, celery is not always in season. And this is a lifestyle program. So there will be months in Egypt where we don't have good celery. It's not juiceable, it's awful. In that case, yes, use cucumber juice. But right now, winter time in Egypt is the best time for celery. So take advantage of it. Since we have it, you do the celery, not the cucumber. Dina, is the celery juice that important? Do not skip it. It is that important. Celery has incredible healing properties. Do not skip it. All of the foods, all of the fruits, all of the vegetables have incredible healing properties. Do not skip any of them. And quick question, what about apple cider vinegar? No vinegars at all. Vinegars what do we call? They can pickle, kind of like pickle your liver if you consume them every single day. Later on, when you shift to a less deep detox and you want to use some vinegars in your salad dressings whatsoever, yes, but not when we're doing a deep detox. Angie, can we use organic vegetable stock? So you mean store-bought, Angie? Commercial? You would need to check the ingredients on there. The most important thing with vegetable stock is that it doesn't contain MSG, and almost all of them contain MSG. There is a recipe for homemade vegetable stock in your program. It's that one. I suggest you make a big pot of it, and then you can freeze it in portions. But commercial vegetable stock, whether vegetable or chicken or beef, all contains MSG. Maria, in the first 3 days before the detox, can I have the same dinner as lunch? Do you mean Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Yes, you can. If it makes it easier for you, ladies, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to pick one dinner recipe, one lunch recipe, and repeat it all 3 days, by all means, you can do that. You don't have to have a different lunch and dinner for each one of those days. You can repeat. Um, A, can I replace the cooked veggies or eliminate them after Sunday? No. After Sunday, there is almost zero flexibility when it comes to the meal plan. The only thing that you can do with the vegetables and the salads starting Sunday is add to them. So the core is broccoli, Brussels sprouts, mushrooms. You can add to those. So if you feel like adding more flavor, you can add fresh herbs like rosemary, like dill, parsley, coriander, or dried. You can add other vegetables. You can add like bell peppers. You can add green beans. You can add, whatever happens to be in season. But those core vegetables need to be there. Do not remove them if they are available to you. Um, because especially the ones like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, asparagus, these are very important for clearing the liver. And a lot of what we're doing is clearing the liver. These are the most, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow, the most potent vegetables for clearing out the liver. All the 6 days of cleansing, we eat daily the same thing. More or less, Yasmin, I think on Tuesday, one of the days there is a spinach soup with like zucchini noodles, and one of the days you have potatoes, and then the last day is just a juicing day. So there are 3 days where there's a little bit of variation. Hint, the lemon elixir, berry smoothie, and celery or cucumber juice are a way of life. Yes. Well, what will happen is like I'm not still drinking just a berry smoothie right now, like 8 years into this process. Lemon water for sure. I go through phases with the celery again because of the availability in Egypt. If it's not celery, then I'm doing cucumber. Sometimes I just do a green juice, which is like lemon, cucumber, apple, spinach. Sometimes instead of a smoothie, lately, like the past 4 months, I've just been having a huge fruit salad. So I just chop up all the fruits that I love, and instead of having a smoothie, I have them as a salad. You will find a rhythm. And when you find yourself getting bored, and this is really important, is that's your sign that I need to shift it a little bit, right? And as long as you're within the fruits, vegetables, a little bit of animal protein, you can't do it wrong. But you need to start off with a foundation. Like most of you, there's just only a few of you here have done this before with me. Most of you have never done this before. So we have to start with the foundation just because you still don't know what to do. You don't have the confidence to sort of experiment on your own. Once you're in this process, once you're comfortable with this way of living and this new way of eating, then by all means, you will know intuitively, instinctively, today, you know what? I don't feel like having the berry smoothie today. Today, I just want to go and have, 5 bananas for breakfast. Whatever. I want to have 5 mangoes for breakfast today. And that's going to be perfectly fine. But until you create that foundation and until your cravings are gone and your symptoms are gone, you want to stick to just almost sort of just following a plan just until it clicks into place. And then you can start being, with all the variety. How about mini vegetable stock? Yes, that is okay. So that one is one that is okay. Can I have them raw? Um, I mean, if you're okay eating broccoli and Brussels sprouts and asparagus raw, by all means. I mean, they're gonna have more nutrients raw than cooked. Anytime you cook something and add heat to any fruit or vegetable or any food, you lose some nutrients. Can you eat them raw? I don't know. Um, What if Brussels sprouts upset my tummy? Nariman, I'm going to talk about that specifically tomorrow. Where did you go? There you are. Tomorrow, because I'll talk about those foods bukra, and I'll explain when they upset your stomach, why they're upsetting your stomach, and what you can do about it. All right. Neda, are Brussels sprouts available in Egypt? Not all the time. Currently, they are, and they're available fresh. So take advantage of it. If there is something that you are not finding, don't fret it, right? If you don't find Brussels sprouts, no problem. You don't find asparagus, no problem. When you find them, use them. When you can't find them, bring in other vegetables. All the vegetables work. Like I said, green beans, peas, artichoke, zucchini, bell peppers, whatever it is you can find, cabbage, it all works. Can I add apple to celery juice? No, I want you to have it plain celery. That's the way it's the most effective. When I add apple to my celery, it's when the celery is starting to go out of season and it becomes incredibly bitter. So I add some apple to sweeten it. But right now, if you are in Egypt, it's the best time to make to really get the benefit of plain celery. And if you're not living in Egypt, you get great celery almost all year round. So definitely you don't need excuses to add anything to it. In Egypt, we have two kinds of celery. Yes, great question. So you want the French celery in Egypt, ladies, not the Egyptian celery.
لو خميس
Called French celery. And it's the French celery is the light green one. It's the stalk is thicker and there's just a few leaves at the end. The Egyptian one is very, 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 very thin and it's a dark green. That's not the one that you use for juicing. Hella, isn't lemon water quite hard on an empty stomach? Like most says it might create more acidity to the stomach and cause ulcers. Okay, another myth. So lemons and other citrus fruits are acidic when they're like outside, right here. The second that you juice a lemon and the second that it enters your body, touches your tongue, it turns alkaline. And it's actually very healing. If you drink lemon water first thing in the morning and you feel acidity, that's because, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, these fruits and vegetables are clearing and healing the pathogens and viruses in your stomach. So you feel that process of clearing as bloating or discomfort, like Nariman was saying. False alarm. Sorry about that, ladies. You feel that clearing as discomfort, but the lemon is not causing the discomfort. The lemon is not causing the acidity. You already have backed up pathogens and bacteria in your digestive system. The lemon goes in to clear it, and then it's called die off. The bacteria dies when the lemon goes in, and you feel that process as acidity. So it's a temporary process while the lemon cleans and clears. Can be uncomfortable, but it's a good thing. And we'll talk about it tomorrow. Any quantity of apple and dates? Yes. There's a minimum quantity. So in the guide, you are supposed to have, I think, 2 to 4 dates with 2 apples. That's the minimum. You want to have more than that by all means, but don't have less than that. How many celery stalks were used for 500 milliliters? I would say in Egypt, you need at least 2 bunches, depending on how many stalks are in each one, at least 2 bunches. If you're abroad, the bunches can be thicker. You just need 1 bunch. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. If it's a really thick bunch, you might just need one. If you're juicing, so if you're juicing, it's a little bit different than blending. If you don't have a juicer and you need to blend your celery, you're going to definitely use 1 full stalk and add 1 cup of water to that and then strain it. If you're juicing, you just juice the whole stalk. You don't have to strain. Can we add curcumin or ginger to the lemon water? Yes, of course you can. Is tahina allowed later on? Yes, it is. I usually take the lemon juice hot. No, the lemon can be hot, room temperature, or cold. No problem, whatever you prefer. Especially in the cold weather, it's nice to have a hot or warm drink. 2 bunches celery per day. What's better, juice or blend? It's definitely better if you have a juicer. 100%. It tastes better. It doesn't have the little stringy bits. It takes less time. So if you have a juicer and you have a blender, you juice the celery. Is it better to juice or blend? You mean in general, Iman, or are you talking specific? There is actually not much of a difference. The celery, yeah, no, the celery, it's better to juice, 100%. Juice your celery. You're welcome. Any questions, ladies, about toxicity, deficiency, what's happening the first 3 days? How about in general? So in general, I was answering this question for somebody in the group today. In general, whether it's juicing or making a smoothie, all right? The reason why do we even juice or make smoothies? Your body and your digestive system is already, you have a built-in juicer and you have a built-in blender, which is your stomach and the rest of your digestive system. So whenever you eat a whole bunch of fruits, a whole bunch of vegetables, anything, they go into your stomach blends them, right? And then it juices them, it extracts the hydration from the fruits and vegetables. And that hydration is full of the vitamins and full of the minerals. It takes all of that and absorbs it and eliminates the fibers. That's what your system is already doing for you. But when we're seeing symptoms and conditions, all of the ones that all of you ladies have, we know that this means the digestive system is tired. The digestive system is compromised. The digestive system is not working optimally. But we want to heal. So we want to give it all of these fruits and vegetables, and we want the benefit, the healing powers of the fruits and vegetables, but it's taking away some of the work so that the body doesn't have to work so hard because the body's already tired. So when you juice or when you blend, you're taking away one or two steps. So that all you have to do when you consume the juice or the smoothie, all your body has to do is just absorb. It doesn't have to juice. It doesn't have to blend. It goes straight to absorption, goes straight to your cells, and the body can then work on regeneration versus trying to work and regenerate at the same time. Maria, any color of apples? Yeah, to any color of apples that you prefer. Neriman, how about using Dina Farms ready juices? I'm not familiar with their juices, Neriman. If you could share the link with me or show me if they're freshly made. But in my experience, places like Liche and all of these things, they don't make fresh juices. They sort of keep them in the fridge or freeze them. They add things to them. So I would say if you want fresh, I know that Glow, the ones that I know from experience, I can speak for. Glow makes really fresh juices and smoothies. Hind, I find celery from Holland. Is that okay? Yes, it is. Yes. Inji, is the smoothie blended or juice? No, the smoothie is blended. So when you see the title smoothie, that's everything blended. When something is the juice, it's put through a juicer. Hello, is it possible to have the document as an attachment as I don't find a way to download? Email me and I will send them to you as an attachment. If anybody's having a problem with that, also send me an email and I will attach it for you. I think I can do that. I have to check with my assistant. I will attach it for you in an email, or I'll just give you. So what happens when you click on the link in your email? Nothing happens? Does it open at least for you? Ladies who are having this issue? Let me know. Email me and let me know and we'll figure this out for you, okay? Sharif, I heard juicing makes us consume less fibers from the fruit and we are better off eating them. Your body gets rid of the fibers anyway, Sharifa, right? Your body's a juicer anyway. Your body doesn't actually benefit from the fibers anyway. What you benefit from the juice, whether you eat it whole or you juice, is the hydration. So when you eat an apple, let's say you have an apple and you have apple juice. You eat the apple, it goes into your stomach grinds it, extracts the hydration, which is full of the nutrients, and eliminates the fibers. The body does not keep the fibers. So what we do with juicing, we just eliminate the effort and just go straight to absorbing the hydration. That's it. I don't have a juicer. Will that compromise my healing? No, not at all. You can use your blender. It opens, but you can't download. Even if you go like save as, like don't download, but just save it as, and then you just put the name of the document and it saves it for you. Can you try that? And then let me know also. Still email me. We can still figure it out for you. I will try from my laptop and will email. Yes, please do. And I still receive your emails in junk, although I added you as a contact. You need to see the settings hint um in your emails. You need to see your address book, you need to see your settings. That's not something I can control from my end. I printed it today. It's opening. Okay, wonderful. Any questions from you ladies? As you prepare for Thursday, a simple piece of advice. Always be 1 day ahead of your plan. Always be 1 day ahead of it. So if you feel like you can't prep and you can't grocery shop for 2 or 3 days at a time, make sure that the day before Thursday, on Wednesday, you have all your ingredients for Thursday. Preparation is, 90% of this process because you can be in the right mindset. You can be overcoming your overwhelm. You can be motivated. You can be all set to go. You stop drinking your coffee, but on Thursday, it's time to go and make a meal and you don't have your ingredients, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to be hungry. You're not going to have anything to make. You're going to go for the easiest thing in front of you. And that's probably not going to be something that's part of the plan. So always make sure you're 1 full day ahead of the plan in terms of ingredients. If you can prepare the lemon water the night before, you can prepare the celery juice the night before. You guys saw my smoothie preparation. You can even prepare it a week before. You can prepare the celery. If you want to juice it, I recommend you can put it in also Ziploc bags in the freezer. Don't put celery in jars in the freezer, it will explode. So you can actually juice celery portions for the week, put them in Ziploc bags, put them in the freezer. Do whatever is going to make this process sustainable for you. Neda, is magnesium oil from Black Lotus the same as magnesium spray? Yes, it is. Magnesium oil spray are the same thing. Is it okay to freeze plastic bags? No harm. Well, like I said yesterday, we don't know how to be 100% of the time, right? I tried using the glass, it exploded. So maybe there's a better way to do it. If in terms of practicality and sustainability as a habit, not everything is going to be 100% clean. So, and 100% toxic free. So if it means if you getting your celery juice every single day means that you're going to freeze it in plastic bags versus you not getting your celery because you don't have time to get up in the morning and make it, then I would say put it in the plastic bags, even if it carries a little risk versus skipping it. No problem. We are hitting the ending time also, Inji. Questions, ladies, concerns. If you tag me in a post in the group and for whatever reason or an email, 24 hours pass and I haven't answered, please feel free to send the email again or to re-tag me in the group because sometimes there's just a lot and I just miss it. So it's if it's something important and you need your answer, as you saw, I usually get back within a couple of hours maximum. But in the event that I don't, and for whatever reason I miss it, please retag and resend the email. Don't hesitate to do that. Like, don't feel bad, whatever, do it. All right. Okay, a couple more questions. Can I get all the vegetables and cut them tomorrow for the 9 days? 100%. Do them, put them in separate containers. Don't mix them because they get soggy when they're mixed. So put them in separate containers. I would say make sure they're really washed well. They're very dry. Put paper towels in between them so that, let's say you're doing, for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, in case one of them goes bad, it doesn't make the rest of them go bad, but 100% you can do that. What about putting the celery juice in a glass jar? If you're putting the celery juice in a glass jar in the fridge, right? You want to make it the night before or maybe maximum in the fridge, though you want 24 hours. That's fine. What I said when they exploded is when I put them in a glass jar in the freezer, they exploded, but not if you're using it in the fridge. That's perfectly fine. Okay, ladies, have a wonderful rest of your day. Tomorrow we are back to our regular time. So that's it. Today was the only exception so far that I can think of. We are back to our time of 7 p.m. as of tomorrow. All right, ladies, and keep your questions coming. Retag me if I've missed something, and let me know what's happening up here. Let me know where the worry is, where the overwhelm, where it might still be. You want to have it clear in your mind before you start on Thursday. All right? Wonderful. See you tomorrow, ladies.